Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. It's a big hair day. I'm going to have it cut later on. Look at the state of that. It's very Don King, isn't it? Anyway, let's talk about the fight, the IBF flyweight fight between Gabriela Fundora and Daniela Asenjo. Now, the reason I mention this is because Gabriela Fundora is one of my favourite female fighters. She's very exciting to watch. I really like watching her. I think she's terrific. She is the sister of Sebastian Fundora, who beat Tim Tszyu not so long ago. That horrendous head injury that Tszyu had, and Fundora was swallowing blood, and there's all sorts of stuff going on in that fight. Very, very tough guy, Sebastian Fundora. And his sister is no less tough. Now Sebastian Fundora, you as a super welterweight, you may remember that he is called the Towering Inferno because he's 6'5". For a guy who weighs 154 pounds, is quite astonishing. But I think this family, these kids, Gabriela and Sebastian, must have been conceived in greenhouses because she's tall as well, 5'9", and she's a flyweight, and just dwarfs her opponents. But kind of unlike her brother, she's got a really nasty streak. Sebastian Fundora is a pretty good offensive fighter, and he likes to shrink his dimensions and fight up close. But he doesn't have that real killer attitude. Gabriela does. It's kind of weird because you see her outside of the ring and she's got her glasses on, she's got the big grin, and she looks kind of, I don't mean to be rude, but she looks a bit dorky, like she just won a spelling bee or something. But inside the ring, she's a savage. She calls herself Sweet Poison, which it's not a bad way of summing it up. And both her and her brother come across as being, really good people. But of the two, I'd say Gabriela's the one with the killer instinct in the ring. She's got 13 wins, no draws, no defeats, 6 KOs, which is quite a few for the female code because of those 2-minute rounds, which make getting your work done more difficult within the stipulated round. And in fact, in her previous 2 fights have probably been the most impressive of her career. Because even though at times she, I wouldn't say struggled, but found it difficult to find her range and rhythm against a good opponent called Christina Cruz, who was also undefeated at the time in 6. She eventually got her work done and stopped her in the 10th and final round. I remember that well because I won some money on it as a stoppage for Gabriela. Prior to that, I think it definitely was the best performance of her career, where she absolutely wrecked Arely Machino in 5 rounds. Machino was a long time world champ, and that's when Gabriela won her world title, the IBF flyweight title. At the time, she was only 21, and she just smashed through Machino. And Machino wasn't a bad fighter. I mean, much shorter, a real little wrecking ball, but she didn't have a hope in hell against Gabriela. And at the time, she was like 32 wins with 11 KOs, which is a good KO ratio for a woman. 3 defeats, only 1 by stoppage. But she weren't at the races at all against Gabriela Fundora. Gabriela just wrecked her. And that's by far the best win for Gabriela. Now, as far as Daniela Asenjo goes, I know far less about her than I do about Gabriela. I know she's 11 years older, so she's 33. She's from Chile. Her last win was a good one against Victoria Canul. And I think that was over in Chile. She won a 10-round decision. She did lose a couple of rounds, and it was competitive, but she got a unanimous decision and deserved it. And to be honest with you, I mean, she comes in with 16 wins, 3 defeats. She hasn't been beaten since 2019. There's 3 draws on her record as well. One of them from 2022. And the other 2 were very early on in her career. So she's fought journey women and complete non-entities. I mean, the first 3 fights, one of those was a draw. And none of those 3 opponents had a single win between them. So she started at a very, very low level and kind of crept up the ladder. And of course, as we know, the women's talent pool is quite shallow in many divisions. That's not to say you don't get good fighters. It's just that finding regular, valid, legitimate challenges for the world champions is sometimes difficult. But she improved. She got better and better. She beat a lady called Angela Lucas, who was undefeated in 5. She beat her on a majority decision. That was 2 fights ago. And like I said, she had the Canal unanimous decision in her last fight. That last fight was only in March, so that's quite recent. Fundora, her last fight against Cruz was in January, I think, of this year. So neither of these ladies is suffering from ring rust. They got no excuse there. And when you consider the 11 years difference in age, I mean, Arsenio's had 9 more fights than Fundora. But I would say Fundora's overall fought the better quality of opposition. And whereas Fundora has 6 KOs in 13 wins, Daniela only has 2 stoppages in 16 wins. But of the 3 defeats, she's never been stopped. So how's this fight going to go? Well, of course, Gabriela, very, very aggressive. Reed thin. I mean, just like a stick woman. Does sometimes fight small. Gets it. I mean, just goes straight at you and bang, bang, bang. Doesn't neglect her boxing skills and her range. Her dimensions. She does. Use the jab quite well. It's just that once the opponent's on the back foot, she's in there. She doesn't stick to the jab. She's letting her hands go. And I think that Miss Asenjo may find that quite difficult. I'm not sure how tall she is. I'm not sure what her dimensions are, but I know they're nowhere near as tall and long as Miss Fundora's. So, despite the fact I haven't seen Daniela fight that much, I've only seen, I think, one of her fights. I may have seen others, but I can't remember them. And I've seen quite a bit of Gabriela Fundora. I find it difficult to imagine, looking at the record of Daniela Asenjo, that she's as anywhere near as good as Gabriela Fundora. I think Fundora will start off with the aggressive jab, start letting her right hand. She's a southpaw, so she'll start off with the southpaw jab, let the left hand go once she finds the range. And I think it's going to be heavy work for Daniela Asenjo. She's an orthodox fighter, so I don't know how many southpaws she's fought in the past, but this is going to be an awkward night at the office for her. I think Gabriela will probably break her down gradually, use all those power punches. Once she finds the range, the power punches are going to come in, and like I say, whenever the opponent takes a back foot, Gabriela jumps on them. Nasty. She's got a nasty streak in her, this kid. So I see her stopping Daniela Asenjo in about between the 5th and the 7th round, mid rounds. She'll soften her up, bang around the ring a bit, and then lower the boom, I think. So that's my prediction. But what do you think of the fight? You looking forward to it? I think it's going to be a good one. I like watching Gabriela Fundora fight. I just think she's really entertaining to watch, and I think we will see another good performance by this very young but very talented fighter. So let me know what you think. Have you seen Fundora fight before? What do you think of her? What do you think of Asenjo? If you've seen her, you may have seen her more than I have. She's from Chile, so let me know what you think. Comments below, of course. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Do all that great stuff that helps Joe Stunner Boxing. And I'll speak to you soon. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.